Today we are going to work a little bit more with inequalities, but today we're going to be working on how to graph them on a number line. So going back to what an inequality is from the other day, an inequality states that two quantities are either not equal or they may not be equal. And we are going to use one of these following symbols. So my first symbol here, if I can just get my pen and I will kind of draw over it so you know which one I'm talking about. The one that looks pointing to the left, this is our less than symbol. Some words are when I see words like fewer than or below, that means I'm going to use the less than symbol. When I have the symbol that points the other direction, that's going to mean is greater than. So if I say, oh, I have more than, or it's something above, that would be a good symbol to use there. Now I go into the symbols that are the less than symbol with the line underneath. So remember, that's going to mean it could be less than or it could be equal to. So that if I have like at most or no more than, I would use the less than or equal to sign. Finally, I have the greater than sign with the line underneath. So that means it's going to be greater than or equal to. So that means at least or no less than. Now you'll notice I also have some circles drawn over here on the side of my table. When we're going to be graphing, we're either going to be using an open circle on the number line or we're going to color that circle in. You'll notice that the less than and the greater than symbol both have open circles, whereas the ones that are less than or equal to both are colored in. So whenever a number is equal to it, I'm going to have the colored in circle. So closed circle is when the value of the circle is included in the solution set. I'm going to close my circle. So again, if I have a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to symbol, I'm going to be using a closed circle today. If I have an open circle, then the value of the circle lies on is not included in the solution set. So that's going to be my less than or my greater than symbol. Right now, you're probably wondering, what is she talking about? So let's get to an example problem so you can understand this a little bit better. So if I look at this, I have 4 different graphs shown. You'll notice that some of them have open circles, like the second one and the bottom one, and some of them have closed circles, like the top one and the third one. Some of them have arrows pointing to the direction of the left, and some of them have arrows going to the right. So these are all graphing the inequalities. Wherever the arrow is going, this red line going here on the side, that's going to show me what numbers could work for the variable. So here, numbers like 30 would work on this one. Here, 45 would work, but 30 would not. So if I want to have an inequality of x is greater than or equal to 35, what I need to do is I need to figure out, okay, x has to be larger than 35. So I want all numbers that are bigger than 35. So I look over here, my numbers that are bigger than 35 are going to be all of the numbers over on the right side of my number line. So if I look at this, numbers that are greater than 35, that'd be a number like 40, 45, and 50. So I want graphs that have my arrow going in that direction. So I know my first graph and I know my bottom graph are not going to be the correct answer for graphing this inequality. So now I need to figure out, okay, if x is greater than or equal to 35, do I want an open or do I want a closed circle? Well, since I have greater than or equal to 35 with that line underneath, if I go back and I look at my symbol on my chart, I do right here have that being a closed circle. You'll notice on Schoology, I did take a screenshot of this chart so you guys can have it open in a new tab to refer back to when you guys are working on your homework as well. So if I look at this here, since it can be greater than or equal to 30, I want a closed circle. It's going to be closed again because 35 can be a choice. So x is greater than or equal to 35 would look like this third graph right here. Little confusing, but we're going to practice more and we're going to get you understanding this. So I figured out that x is greater than or equal to 35 matches with this third graph. So now I need to go through and I need to look through the other graphs to figure out which inequalities could go for each of those. So I look at this top one right here. Well, I have numbers that are smaller than 35 of the direction the arrow is pointing. So I want all numbers that are smaller than 35. So if I look at that here, well, here x is smaller than 35 because it's the less than symbol. Here x is smaller than 35, but here x is greater than 35. So it's going to be one of these first two choices. Now, because my dot is filled in, that means x could also equal 35. So whenever I have this closed circle, that means that that number is part of the solution set. So because of the closed circle, I want the less than or equal to symbol. So I would put that one right here. Now my last two graphs I have on this slide both have open circles. So I do not want the equal to symbol part of my answer, which is great because I have a less than symbol and I have a greater than symbol. So if I look at here, my arrow on my second graph is pointing towards the right. These are all numbers that are larger than 35. And in my bottom one, the difference in this graph is all my numbers are to the left of 35. So all numbers that are smaller than it. So when I look at this one would be x is greater than 35. Because if I took a number like 40 and I substituted that in for x, is 40 greater than 35? Yes. So the arrow would be in this direction. If I put this one here and I have the number 20 is a part of my red line, well, this is saying x could be 20. Is 20 less than 35? Yes. So that would be the correct graph there. Hope it's starting to make a little bit more sense, but in case it's not, I have a couple more practice problems for us today. So now I'm going to actually be showing you how to graph these inequalities, which one of your IXLs is going to involve today. So if I have x is less than 45, so because it's less than and there's no line underneath, it cannot equal it, I know I'm going to be using my open circle. I'm going to put my open circle on 45 because that's my number in the problem. So I'm going to drag this over and put it on 45. Now, x has to be less than 45. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test out some numbers near my circle and figure out which one works. So I'm going to look at 40 and 50. So if I substitute in 50 for x, is 50 less than 45? No, it is not. So I do not want my arrow going towards the right. However, is 40 less than 45? Yes. So I want my arrow to go the direction pointing to all the numbers smaller than 45. Now, when you're drawing your arrows could go all the way to the end. They could be very short and tiny. They could just be any length you want. The arrow at the end means that that line can keep going on forever. So it's any number that is less than 45. Okay, let's look at our next example. X is greater than or equal to 25. Because of this line underneath, I know 25 can be part of the solution set. It can equal 25 or be greater than it. So because of this line underneath, I'm going to choose my closed circle. I'm going to put it on 25 because again, that's my number in the problem. That's how I know where to put my dot. So since x has to be greater than or equal to 25, I want my arrow going to the direction of numbers that are larger than 25. So look at that here. I'm going to pick my arrow going to the right for this problem. So for example, 30 would be a part of my solution set. Is 30 greater than or equal to 25? Yes. So my arrow I know is going in the right direction. Okay, two more quick practice problems. If x is less than or equal to -5. So because again, I have this line underneath, I'm going to choose my closed circle and put it on -5. Since x has to be less than -5, I want to go to numbers that are smaller than -5. Remember, when I'm working with my negative numbers, the bigger numbers are actually going to be the smaller ones. So like a -10 is actually smaller than -5. So I'm going to click and drag my arrow. Whoops, if I can click and drag here. I'm going to click and drag this, and I'm going to point this in the direction of all the numbers that are below -5. Finally, my last one, x is greater than -2. I do not have a line underneath, so it cannot equal -2. So I cannot put that closed circle. I have to put an open circle on -2. Now, since x is going to have to be greater than -1, I want numbers that are larger, or sorry, -2. I have to find my numbers that are larger than -2. I'm going to put my arrow going in the direction of the right. So these would be how I would graph my inequalities. So what we're going to do then is real quick, I'm going to have you guys answer a couple questions of what kind of circle you would put for each of these. So we're going to answer 4 quick multiple choice questions, and you're either going to answer either open or closed. So when I have the greater than symbol, Would I have an open or would I have a closed circle? I hope that you guys answered when you have the greater than symbol. That would just be an open circle that you would not fill in. Okay, what about when I have my less than symbol? Would I be having an open or a closed circle there? I hope you guys, again, realize because there is no line underneath, I would want an open circle for that one as well. Okay, now when I look at the bottom, if I have greater than or equal to, okay, so I have the line underneath the bottom, do I want an open or a closed circle for that graph? I'm hoping that you guys realize that I no longer want this to be open. Instead, I would like this to be a filled, closed in circle. And finally, if I have my less than or equal to symbol, and again, I have that line underneath, meaning it can equal that number, would I want an open or would I want a closed circle? I hope again you guys realize that this one would be also a closed circle. So again, the line underneath, I'm going to fill that circle in.